The hall went silent. Guests froze in disbelief as my fiancé walked in, his hand tightly holding another woman's. My heart stopped when he introduced her, not as a friend, not as a relative, but as his second wife. I stood there in my wedding gown, humiliated in front of everyone I knew, every dream I had shattering in an instant. Whispers filled the room, laughter from some, pity from others. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply placed my bouquet down, lifted my chin, and walked away in silence. Days later, my phone rang. His voice, once filled with pride and arrogance, now trembled with desperation. He was begging me for help. And in that moment, I realized something unforgettable. The man who tried to break me had destroyed himself instead. My name is Emily, and I was 27 years old when the happiest day of my life turned into my deepest humiliation. That morning, I woke up with butterflies in my stomach. The air felt different, as if the universe itself knew something important was about to happen. My friends gathered around me, helping me slip into my gown. The dress shimmered under the soft light of the bridal suite, and when I looked into the mirror, I saw a woman glowing with love and hope. "You look perfect," one of my bridesmaids whispered, adjusting the veil. I smiled, my heart swelling with excitement. I had waited years for this moment, for the chance to stand hand in hand with the man I believed was my soulmate. The wedding hall was breathtaking. Rows of golden chairs lined the aisle, candles flickered on each table, and fresh roses perfumed the air. Guests chatted happily, their laughter filling the space. Some snapped pictures, others whispered compliments about the decor. I stood near the entrance, waiting for him, my heart pounding in rhythm with the music. And then the doors opened. Every head turned, and I followed their gaze with eager anticipation. But what I saw froze the smile on my face. My fiancé walked in, not with joy on his face, not with pride, but with another woman by his side. At first, my mind couldn't process it. My bouquet slipped slightly in my trembling hands. The woman clung to his arm confidently, almost smugly, as if she belonged there. The whispers began immediately. "Who is she? Is this some kind of joke? No, it can't be." And then he spoke the words that shattered me. "Everyone, this is my wife, my second wife." A collective gasp swept across the hall. Some covered their mouths. Others exchanged looks of disbelief. My relatives shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. The room that had been filled with laughter moments ago now felt suffocating, every whisper cutting deeper than a knife. I stood frozen, my face burning, my heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. My fiancé, the man I trusted with my whole being, had chosen this moment, our moment, to humiliate me publicly. He didn't even flinch, as if my pain meant nothing, as if my dreams were disposable. Tears welled in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Every eye in the room was on me, waiting for me to explode, to scream, to collapse in despair. But something inside me snapped, not with weakness, but with strength. I placed the bouquet gently on the table, straightened my back, and lifted my chin. Without a word, without a single glance at him, I turned and walked down the aisle, not as a bride, but as a woman choosing dignity over drama. Gasps followed me. Some tried to stop me, calling my name, but I didn't pause. My heels clicked against the floor, steady and strong, even though inside I was crumbling. That was the moment I lost everything I thought I had. But it was also the moment I found something more powerful, my pride. When I stepped out of the wedding hall, the noise inside felt like a distant storm, muffled whispers, gasps, and laughter trailing behind me. But the silence outside was deafening. The cool air touched my skin, yet my body burned with shame. My hands clutched at my gown, as if holding it together would somehow keep me from falling apart. Each step I took away from the hall felt heavier than the last. My heels echoed against the pavement, sharp and deliberate, but my chest ached with a pain so raw I thought it might tear me apart. I kept walking, refusing to look back, because I knew if I did, I'd see the stares, the pity, the judgment, the betrayal etched on every face. By the time I reached the car, my body was trembling. My driver opened the door, his eyes wide with confusion. I climbed inside without a word, lowering my gaze to hide the tears welling in my eyes. The moment the door shut, the strength I had held on to like a lifeline collapsed. My chest heaved, and the tears poured down uncontrollably. I pressed my hands to my face, muffling the sobs that shook through me. My wedding gown, once a symbol of love and hope, now felt like chains, mocking me, suffocating me. I leaned back in the seat, staring up at the car's ceiling, asking questions no one could answer. Why me? Why today? How could he? The drive home was silent, except for my quiet cries. When I finally reached my room, I shut the door and collapsed on the bed, pulling the veil from my hair and throwing it to the ground. My heart throbbed as I remembered every detail of that moment. The smug look on her face, the arrogance in his voice, the pity in everyone's eyes. I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I just lay there in the dark, drowning in humiliation and heartbreak. The following days were no better. News of what happened at my wedding spread faster than wildfire. My phone buzzed endlessly with calls and messages. Some were sympathetic. Stay strong, Emily. You don't deserve this. Others were cruel. Didn't you see the signs? You should have known better. And then there were the ones who just wanted gossip. Tell me exactly what happened. Is it true? Each word, each whisper, cut deeper than the betrayal itself. Relatives spoke about me behind closed doors, neighbors looked at me with pity, and even friends struggled to find the right words. I felt like my entire life had been reduced to a scandal, a story for others to dissect. At night, I would curl up in bed, clutching my pillow as though it could hold me together. The tears never seemed to stop. My body ached from crying, but the pain in my chest was worse, a hollow emptiness that refused to leave. But amidst all the heartbreak, there was a strange calm that lingered. Somewhere inside me, a voice whispered, "You didn't scream. You didn't fight. You walked away, with your dignity intact." That thought became my anchor. Yes, I was broken. Yes, I was humiliated. But I had not given him the satisfaction of watching me fall apart. I had walked away with silence, and that silence, though heavy, was mine. It was the beginning of something I couldn't yet see. Something that would later become my strength. The days after the wedding felt like walking through a battlefield, except the wounds weren't visible. They lived inside me, heavy and unhealed. From the moment I opened my eyes each morning, I felt the weight of humiliation pressing down on me. The first thing I saw was my wedding gown, still hanging in the corner of my room. Once, I had dreamed of walking toward a new life in it. Now, it stood like a cruel ghost, a reminder of everything I had lost. I tried to avoid people, but the world has a way of finding you when you least want it. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. At first, I ignored it. But when I finally answered, I regretted it. "Emily, I heard what happened," a relative's voice said, laced with false sympathy. "You poor thing. But tell me, did you really not know? Was he seeing her before?" I hung up before she could finish. But the questions didn't stop. Messages flooded in. Some were dripping with pity, others with cruelty. One cousin sent me a text. "You must have been blind not to notice. A man like him always has secrets." Another said, "Don't worry, people will forget. Scandals fade, eventually." But the words that hurt most were the ones whispered in the streets. When I stepped outside, I caught the stares. I heard the murmurs. "There she is. That's the girl whose fiancé betrayed her at the altar." She walked away, at least she had some pride. Pride. Dignity. Those were the only things people seemed to admire about me now. Yet in my room, behind closed doors, I didn't feel proud. I felt shattered. One night, I sat on my balcony as the city lights flickered in the distance. The sky was painted with fading orange and purple hues, but I barely noticed. My chest ached with the memories of that night, the way the crowd looked at me, the cruel smirk on his face, the hand of his so-called wife gripping his arm. Tears blurred my vision, and I whispered into the night, "How do I start over when my heart has been ripped apart?" But then, a small voice inside me answered, "Because you must." That was the truth I couldn't ignore. I couldn't erase the betrayal, but I also couldn't let it define me. I had walked away with silence when everyone expected me to scream. That silence had been my first act of strength. Maybe, just maybe, I could build on that. So I made a promise to myself. I would not let him, or anyone else, turn me into a victim for life. If I had to rebuild from ashes, I would. If I had to carry scars, I would. But I would not be broken forever. What I didn't know then was that life had one more twist waiting for me. A twist that would test my strength in ways I never imagined. It was late evening, nearly a week after the wedding disaster. The house was silent, yet my mind was loud with thoughts I couldn't control. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor, my phone lying beside me. It had become both a lifeline and a curse. Endless calls from relatives, empty condolences from friends, and gossip I didn't want to hear. That night, I told myself I wouldn't answer anymore. I needed peace, even if it came from silence. But then, the phone lit up. At first, I ignored it, thinking it was just another curious voice wanting details about my humiliation. But then I saw the name on the screen. Him. My heart stopped. My hands went cold. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it. The man who had humiliated me in front of everyone, the man who had walked into my wedding holding another woman's hand, was calling me. I stared at the glowing screen, my chest pounding. I had two choices: reject the call and erase him from my life forever, or answer and hear what he could possibly have to say. Against my better judgment, my trembling fingers slid across the screen. "Hello." My voice was flat, steady, though my insides churned. What I heard next nearly made me drop the phone. His voice, once arrogant, once full of pride, was trembling.
Weak. Shattered.
"Emily," he whispered, almost choking on my name. "Please, I need your help." I froze. For a moment, I didn't even breathe. My help? This had to be a cruel joke. This was the same man who had broken me, who had left me to walk away in shame while he flaunted his second wife. "What do you want?" I asked coldly, my voice sharper than I intended. There was silence on the line, except for the sound of his uneven breathing. Then he finally spoke. "I made a mistake. Everything is falling apart.
She's not who I thought she was.
My life it's collapsing. Emily, I don't know who else to turn to." His words cut through me, not with sympathy, but with disbelief. He had betrayed me, destroyed me, and now he was crawling back, begging for the very dignity he once stripped from me. I gripped the phone tighter, memories of the wedding flashing before my eyes. The gasps, the whispers, the shame. And now the tables had turned. For the first time in days, I felt something other than heartbreak. I felt power. And though I didn't say it yet, I knew one thing. This call would be the moment I decided who I truly was, broken and bitter, or strong and unshakable. For a long moment, I didn't speak. I just held the phone against my ear, listening to the sound of his shaky breaths. The silence between us was heavy, almost suffocating. It felt strange. This man who once carried himself with arrogance, who humiliated me in front of hundreds, was now stripped of every ounce of pride. Finally, I broke the silence. My voice was steady, though my chest tightened with a mix of anger and relief. "Do you even hear yourself right now? You stood in front of me, on my wedding day, holding another woman's hand. You introduced her as your wife. You destroyed me in front of everyone I knew. And now you call me, begging for help." There was a sharp inhale on the other end. "Emily, please," his voice cracked. "I didn't know she was like this. She's ruined me. My money's gone. My family turned against me. She lied about everything. I don't know what to do. You're the only one I trust." I almost laughed, but it came out more like a bitter scoff. "Trust? You betrayed my trust in the worst way possible. You wanted to humiliate me, and you succeeded. But now, you're the one who's humiliated. Do you see the irony?"
He sobbed.
Actually sobbed. For a moment, I felt a flicker of pity, but it vanished as quickly as it came. Because pity was what he wanted. Pity was what would give him power over me again. And I wasn't about to hand it to him. I stood up, pacing across the room, the wedding gown still hanging in the corner like a silent witness. "Let me make this clear," I said firmly, my voice growing stronger with every word. "The day you walked into that hall with her, you lost me forever. Whatever storm you're in now, you will face it alone. I will not rescue you. Not now, not ever." There was silence, followed by a broken whisper. "Emily, don't do this. Please, I need you." I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply, and then with all the strength I had left, I said, "No. You needed me when you had the chance to respect me. That chance is gone." And with that, I ended the call. For a moment, I stood still, the phone heavy in my hand. My heart pounded, but it wasn't from pain this time, it was from liberation. For the first time since that night, I felt free. I walked to the balcony, looking out at the city lights glittering against the dark sky. The same world that once looked like ashes now seemed full of possibility. I realized then that I had gained something priceless, my self-respect. That night, I slept peacefully, not because my life was perfect, not because my pain had vanished, but because I finally understood something powerful. He didn't break me. He only freed me to find the life I truly deserved. And this time, I would build it on my own terms.